facing several challenges of a truly global nature, the Council's mission of promoting better understanding between the United States and the rest of the world is more relevant than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that the recent developments in Afghanistan are on everyone's mind, and I would share Pakistan's perspective on them in due course. But I want to begin with how Pakistan envisions the future of its relationships with the United States. I do not need to educate this learned audience on the cyclical nature and the historic ups and downs of the Pakistan-US relationship. Our engagement has often been narrowly framed, dictated either by short-term security interests or the imperative to deal with a common challenge. We want to break out of this pattern. After the horrific September 11 terrorist attacks, Pakistan and the United States came together to decimate Al-Qaeda's core leadership and architecture. Our cooperation produced results, leading President Biden to conclude earlier this year that the United States had achieved its core objective in Afghanistan. Now that the US military mission in Afghanistan is over, we want to take our relationship beyond counterterrorism and Afghanistan, which of course would remain priorities. For Pakistan, the United States remains an important partner. The United States is still our largest export market and a major source of foreign remittances. There is cultural affinity between the United States and Pakistan, which is one of the largest English-speaking countries in the world. Talented young Pakistanis continue to gravitate towards American college campuses and Silicon Valley incubators. We have a large and politically engaged Pakistani-American community that is a bridge between our two countries. In short, we have all the ingredients in place to build a more substantive and a broad-based relationship that is anchored in trade, investment, and people-to-people linkages. As Pakistan shifts its focus towards geoeconomics, we want to leverage our connectivity infrastructure, including the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, to enhance regional trade and economic integration. We see the United States as an important partner in this regard. Sitting at the crossroads of South and Central Asia, Pakistan is a market of over 220 million people with a growing middle class. Pakistan's young but exciting startup tech culture showcases our untapped investment potential. US companies like ExxonMobil have a long history of working in Pakistan. With the government's climate-friendly energy policies that are now tremendous, they offer tremendous opportunities for US companies that specialize in renewable and clean energy. An economically strong Pakistan can be an anchor for stability in a region that has suffered through 40 years of war in Afghanistan. Pakistan can work with the United States through the Development Finance Corporation to generate economic activity along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. This could in turn help the Afghan people rebuild their war-ravaged country. The Pakistan-US-Uzbekistan-Afghanistan quadrilateral could be similarly leveraged to support Afghanistan's post-war reconstruction. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Prime Minister Imran Khan was elected on a promise of delivering jobs, growth, and prosperity to the people of Pakistan. We knew that achieving such an ambitious domestic agenda would be impossible without peace on our borders. Accordingly, Prime Minister Imran Khan offered that he would take 2 steps towards peace if India takes 1. Our message was simple. Pakistan and India should be fighting poverty instead of each other. Unfortunately, India not only spurned our overtures for peace, but took actions in occupied Jammu and Kashmir that have pushed South Asia into a blind alley. Prime Minister Khan had come to the UN 2 years ago and warned that India's illegal and unilateral actions in the disputed territory of Jammu and Kashmir would not silence the Kashmiri people's cry for self-determination, no matter what level of violence and suppression India unleashes against the Kashmiris. This has proved to be true. Earlier this month, the death of Kashmiri leader Sayyid Ali Shah illustrated the cynical manner in which Indian occupation is being perpetuated. India was so frightened of the moral authority wielded by the 91-year-old freedom fighter who had spent the last decade of his life under house arrest that it did not even let Mr. Gilani's family bury him as per his wishes. This was disgraceful, to say the least. Pakistan, human rights, and political inclusivity. With careful engagement and persuasion, we may be able to nudge the Taliban in the right direction. Ostracizing Afghanistan proved to be a mistake in the 1990s, and it would be a mistake now. An isolated and unstable Afghanistan would be exactly the kind of place that would lure terrorist groups. Pakistan is already experiencing an upsurge in terrorist attacks by the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and the Balochistan Liberation Army. And we all witnessed the horrific consequences of the Daesh suicide bombing in Kabul last month. So while we should expect the Taliban to honor their pledge and not allow terrorist groups to use Afghan territory to attack any other country again, we have to find more creative ways to elicit their cooperation on a sustainable basis. Coercion will not do. Constructive engagement and steps to avert humanitarian crisis and stabilize the economy would be indispensable. We should also be vigilant against regional spoilers who were opposed to the Afghan peace process and are clearly disappointed that Afghanistan seems to have averted a long and bloody civil war for now. In the final analysis, an inclusive end state in Afghanistan remains the international community's best counterterrorism investment. We should continue to pursue it. I thank you.
वज़ीर ख़ारिजा शाह महमूद कुरैशी काउंसिल ऑन फॉरेन रिलेशंस से न्यूयॉर्क में खिताब कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान और अमेरिका के माबैन तारीख़ी ताल्लुकात हैं। अमेरिका अफ़गानिस्तान में अपने बुनियादी अहदाफ हासिल कर चुका है। पाकिस्तान 22 करोड़ अफराद पर मुश्तमिल उभरती हुई मार्केट है। हमारा ख़ित्ता अफ़गानिस्तान में 40 साल से जारी जंग से शदीद मुतासिर हुआ। अब वक्त है कि अफ़गान अवाम के उनके मुल्क की तामीर नौ के लिए मदद की जाए। हम अमन, तरक्की और खुशहाली का दाखिली एजेंडा अपनी सरहदों पर अमन कायम किए बगैर हासिल नहीं कर सकते। वज़ीर ख़ारिजा शाह महमूद कुरैशी का कहना था कि अफ़गानिस्तान की हालिया सूरत हाल हर एक की नज़र और जहन में है। पाकिस्तान और अमेरिका के दरमियान तारीख़ी ताल्लुकात हैं। 9/11 के वाक़यात के बाद अमेरिका और पाकिस्तान ने मिलकर दहशतगर्दी का मुकाबला किया है। न्यूज़ स्टूडियो से फिल वक्त इतना ही। मज़ीद बाखबर रहने के लिए हमारे साथ रहिए।